Hi guys, hope you're doing good. And today I'm going to be talking about bands and artists that I would resurrect from the ashes. Now I've got this idea from the Fumes of Hatred because he did a contest not so long ago, and one of the things that he had for his contest was to name 3 bands or artists that you'd like to resurrect. And yeah, I thought that was a really cool idea. However, I didn't make a video for his contest because I just didn't feel like that I could make a video for it. But instead, because I liked this idea so much, I thought I'd make this video for him as like a response kind of thing, in a way. So yeah, I think from the contest you could pick old eras of bands that you liked that are now no more, or artists that have passed away that you'd like to come back. So yeah, I'll leave a link in the description to the Fumes of Hatred YouTube channel so you can go check him out. He shows a lot of cool stuff, like a lot of black metal, I think, and other types of metal, but mostly black metal, which is quite cool. And yeah, I hope you go on to enjoy this video. And if you've stuck around from the thrash metal video, that's awesome. I couldn't believe how well that video done. The views on it is absolutely unbelievable, massively exceeded my expectations. So yeah, now let's get into this video. So I've got 10 bands and artists on my list, and my list is in no particular order. I just wrote them down from 1 to 10. So yeah, let's get straight into it. So the first one that I got is Motorhead, and more specifically Lemmy, because Lemmy basically was Motorhead. Only recently, over the last couple of months, I've been starting to get more into Motorhead and watching more clips of Lemmy interviews and stuff like that. He was an absolute crazy mad dude, but unfortunately he passed away when I was in not college, before then, school, I think, about 2015 I want to say, and I was still in school at the time, and I would never have had a chance to see Motorhead live, which is a real shame because it would have been really cool to see them live. So yeah, that's my first one, Motorhead. My second one, I've got Sepultura, and my specific time period would be the early 90s Sepultura, probably when Arise just come out. That to me was peak Sepultura, from the late 80s to the early 90s. So it would have been awesome to see them live in that time, in their absolute prime. And also it would have been awesome to see what they could have done had they have carried on in that Beneath the Remains, Arise sort of style. That would have been really cool. So that's my second pick. My next one is Death, and more specifically Chuck Schuldiner, because as everyone knows, Chuck Schuldiner died in 2001, and Death pretty much died with him, because again he was Death. So it would have been interesting to see, had he not passed away, would he have gone back to Death? Would he have, because I know he was doing Control Denied at the time. It would have been interesting to see if he would have carried on doing Control Denied, or he would have gone back to Death. That would have been really cool. Also, it would have been really awesome to see Death in their pomp as well, in their prime, in the mid-90s. That would have been really cool. So the next one on the list is going to be a little bit different from the previous bands that I just mentioned. The next one I've got is Led Zeppelin, and mainly because Led Zeppelin, they kind of were finished in the early 80s, weren't they, after John Bonham passed away. So obviously I would never have had a chance to see them live, and I just think they're one of them bands where it would have just been absolutely awesome to see them live in their prime. So that's why when I was doing this list, I thought, you know what, it might be quite cool to resurrect like the early 70s Led Zeppelin and see them play in their prime. I bet it would have been absolutely awesome. So that's why I put them on my list, just to see Led Zeppelin live would have been awesome. Next on my list, I've got Jeff Hanneman, and when Jeff Hanneman was in Slayer, and that could be any era up until he passed away, really. I have seen Slayer, and I may have mentioned it a couple of times on my channel, that I saw them on their farewell tour in 2018, and it was awesome, and they had Gary Holt. It was brilliant, but part of me kind of is, part of me regrets, or not regrets, but is a bit gutted that I couldn't see them when Jeff was in the band. And obviously Jeff passed away in 2013, so at that time I didn't even know who Slayer was. So I would have had no chance to see Slayer with Jeff, but that would be something that I would do. I'd resurrect Jeff Hanneman and have the old Slayer back just for one show. That would have been awesome. My next one, I've got Jimi Hendrix, and some people might know, but Jimi Hendrix is one of my biggest influences for starting to play guitar back when I was an early teenager. Jimi Hendrix was one that I just looked up to and was like, I want to be just like him. And obviously the fact that he passed away at 24, I think 24, well, I got that wrong. But yeah, anyway, the fact that he passed away too young, really, would have been really cool to see what he'd done further in his career. And also, it would have been absolutely mad to see him live back in the late 60s. Some of his shows as well were, at the time, absolutely crazy. And yeah, it would have been really cool to experience Jimi Hendrix experience live. So yeah, that's why he's on the list. Next up, another guitarist that died way too young, Randy Rhoads. Another one of my massive influences as well, Randy Rhoads. Would have been really, really cool and interesting to see what he would have or could have done in his career had he not passed away at 24. Would he have stayed with Ozzy Osbourne? Would he have done his own thing? Would he have made a new band? How good a guitar player could he have become? Something that I always think about, especially when I listen to the early Ozzy albums. I always think of Randy, and it would have been so cool to see him play and see what he could have done in his career. And these last three, even though I said that it's no particular order, but these last three probably would be my top three if I was to make it a list like that. So the next one on my list is Gary Moore, and for the plain fact that I would have just loved to have seen him play. I would have loved to have seen one Gary Moore concert. That would have been absolutely fantastic. Again, another one of my big guitar influences from when I started. Still love his playing, and yeah, I'm sad that the fact that I never had a chance to see him play live, because again, he passed away before I even knew about him, back in 2011, I believe. Yeah, a real shame that he passed away, because he was still doing, he was still doing his thing. He was still playing live, and yeah, it just would have been really cool to see him play live, because he's one of my big influences, really. Yeah, that's that pick. My penultimate pick is Pantera from the mid-90s. Either Vulgar Display of Power or Far Beyond Driven, one of those albums that would have been the best time to see Pantera live, and I would have absolutely loved to see them live. I'm not really that bothered about seeing the new Pantera because it's not really Pantera, is it? It's just they just slapped the name on to get more money, really. But yeah, to see Dime and Vinny absolutely rip it on stage would have been so cool. And yeah, again, another thing I would never have experienced because Dimebag passed away when I was 4 years old. Pantera split up when I was 1 year old. So yeah, not unless I build a time machine, I won't be able to ever see some of these bands, which is a shame. But whatever. And obviously my number one, and this one was picked a lot by a lot of people, and rightfully so, because this is one of the big ones really, and it's obviously Cliff Burton's Metallica. That era, the first 3 Metallica albums are arguably their 3 best albums. I probably would say that them and Justice for All is an argument to be in their best 3. But yeah, Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets, there's just absolutely no doubts about them 2 albums being their 2 best albums and 2 of the best metal albums of all time. And it's, it always begs a question for a lot of people, like what Metallica could have been had Cliff Burton not died. And I even done a what if about it if Metallica still had Cliff Burton in the band. Quite a few years ago now I made that video. I might leave it at the end of this video if anyone's interested. But yeah, just to see Cliff Burton play live and that era of Metallica in their prime, yeah, I wish I could bottle that up and watch it every day. Yeah, it would have been so cool to see that era of Metallica play live. So that was my 10 bands and artists that I'd love to resurrect from the ashes, or get a time machine and go back and watch them. I'd love to know what you thought of all my picks, and in case you didn't do an entry for Fumes of Hatred contest, what would be your bands and artists that you'd like to resurrect or go back in time to see? Yeah, please check out the Fumes of Hatred. He's got a really cool channel. Seems a really cool guy from what I've seen so far. So yeah, I'll leave links so you can go check him out. And yeah, if you got this far, thanks ever so much for watching. Until the next time, keep it metal.